me, Michele, on the streetlights on the corner. City vibes got a story. Feel the beat, don't ignore me.
Welcome into another episode of Talk to Me, Michele. I am your host, Michele, with one L. What is good, people? Everybody out here still celebrating Black Excellence this month and beyond February. I hope you guys took note on the last episode where I covered that. But if you have not subscribed, please do so right now. Hit the share button. And if you want to, you can follow me on social media, and that handle is Talk to Me, Michele. All right, I got to have this conversation. I have to have this conversation, a real conversation about something that has been plaguing our community for generations. It's self-hatred. Now, before anybody gets defensive, let me just say this. If you're already offended, you might just be the person I'm talking about. Now, this all came to mind after Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance. Y'all know the one.
It's a cultural divide. I'm going to get it on the floor.
The one where Samuel Jackson was standing there looking like he was about to cuss everybody out for the culture. So the performance was packed with so many messages. Message about unity, strength, resilience of Black people. But instead of taking it in, some folks were quick to jump online to talk about it. This ain't gonna change nothing. That was the basic tone. We always gotta bring up race. It's just performative. I had to pause and ask myself, are these people okay? Are they okay? Because, see, this type of thinking isn't new. We've seen it before. If you've ever watched the Boondocks, you know exactly who I'm about to bring up, Uncle Ruckus. Now, for those who don't know, Uncle Ruckus is that one self-hating Black man who swears up and down that the white man is right and Black is, well, everything wrong with the world. He worships whiteness. He degrades his own people and genuinely believes that slavery was the good old days. Now, you think Uncle Ruckus was an exaggeration, just a character in a cartoon, right? We got real-life Ruckuses around here walking among us every single day. They're in our workplaces, in our families, on our TV screens, even in our politics. They're the ones who go out of their way to put down their own community, acting like racism is a thing of the past, and pretend like aligning themselves with whiteness will somehow erase their Blackness. Spoiler alert, it won't. But where does the mindset come from? Why do we still have people in our own community tearing us down instead of lifting us up? I'm going to have to go all the way back to the root of it because, trust me, it didn't just start yesterday. Let's take a trip back in time. Don't worry, I'm not going to give you a boring history lecture. I'm going to break this down in a way that makes sense and maybe even make you chuckle because sometimes you got to laugh to keep from crying. So picture this, back in the day, you had two types of enslaved Black folks, the field Negro and the house Negro. Shout out to Malcolm X for making sure we never forget this distinction. Now, the field Negroes were out in the sun, working from can't see nothing in the morning to can't see nothing at night, sweating, getting whooped, catching all the struggle firsthand. And they weren't out here romanticizing their situation. They knew who the enemy was. House Negroes, on the other hand, were inside. They might have been cooking, cleaning, even helping raise the slave master's kids. Now, don't get it twisted, life wasn't easy for them either, but they had some advantages. Sometimes they got leftovers instead of scraps. And if master was feeling generous, they got secondhand dresses instead of rags. And let's be real, if somebody gives you a little comfort in a world of pain, you might start seeing them in a different light. And that's how some Negroes began to identify with their oppressors, even thinking, well, master treats me better than them field Negroes. Maybe master ain't that bad. That, my friends, is the first recorded case of Stockholm Syndrome in Black history. Now let's talk about this Willie Lynch letter, which some say is real, some say it isn't. But either way, the mindset it describes is very real. The idea was simple. Keep Black folks divided. Dark skin versus light skin, old versus young, men versus women. The goal was to create a permanent mental division so that even when slavery was over, we'd still be out here beefing with each other instead of uniting. And you know what? Mission accomplished. Because some of us are still acting like we need masses' approval to feel valuable. Even after slavery technically ended, because we all know the 13th Amendment had a little fine print, so you gotta look it up. But America found new ways to remind Black folks that we weren't seen as equal. Enter Jim Crow laws. You can't eat here. You can't sit here. You can't vote without jumping through 20 hoops, reciting the alphabet backwards while standing on one leg. And let's not forget the paper bag test. This is where black folks, some black folks, they would exclude others from social spaces if their skin was darker than a brown paper bag. So colorism been doing the devil's work for generations. Now here's where it gets really deep. When you are told for centuries that you're not worth a damn, eventually some people will start to believe it. That's how we ended up this way. I don't want to be associated with blackness mentality. The folks who say, I don't see color. The ones who insist slavery was a long time ago. Why can't we just move on? And my personal favorite, the black folks who say, there's no such thing as racism in America. Whoever you are, have you been outside? These aren't just opinions. These are symptoms of historical brainwashing. Some folks have been trained to believe that distancing themselves from blackness gives them a step up in life. But the gag is, racists don't care how far you run. They still see you as a black person. So today, unfortunately, it leaves us where some people are still carrying around that house Negro mentality. They think being accepted by white America means success, and they look down on their own community because deep down, they've been conditioned to believe that whiteness is the standard. I mentioned earlier the cartoon character from the Boondocks, Uncle Ruckus, and I'm here to tell you his spirit is alive and well and real in the world, and you don't have to look too far. Turn on the news, scroll through social media, or sit through one of these new age respectable black TED Talks, and you're going to see some real-life Uncle Ruckus in action. Now we're seeing these black politicians who deny racism exists while standing in a country literally built on it. These are the same people who look at you dead in the face and say slavery wasn't bad. And if you work hard, racism doesn't affect you. And the police treat everybody the same. Just comply. Sir, did you just say that with a straight face? With a microphone on? And in front of people? These are the ones who love to be the go-to black friend when certain politicians need someone to say, see, even he agrees with me. And don't get me started on the ones who vote against policies that actually help black folks. It's giving sellout energy, and the community sees it. So you may wonder why it's done. Very simple. Money and validation. They have realized that tap dancing for the right audience pays very well. And some of them love being praised by white conservatives who see them as one of the good ones. Now, I'm not saying every black celebrity needs to be a role model, but some of them need to take coonery to a level that makes even Uncle Ruckus say, damn, that's too much. First, you see the ones that are trashing the black community every chance they get, as if they weren't raised in it. The ones who mock black culture while they're performing and profiting from it. And the ones who go out of their way to uplift whiteness while tearing down their own people. And don't even get me started on the celebrities who marry into wealth and suddenly forget that they're black. Y'all know the ones. They start talking different, wearing pastel sweaters over their shoulders, and acting like they've never seasoned their food in their life. The moment they get a little money, they distance themselves from anything too black. But guess what? No matter how much money you make, you will always be black in America. That country club you've been trying to impress, they still see you as a guest. Listen, social media is the new wild, wild west. And in this digital world, there's big money in saying the right or the wrong things to the right audience. There are influencers who build entire brands off bashing black men because they know it gets clicks. There are commentators who consistently blame black people for their own oppression because of their non-black audience. They eat it up. And let's not forget the ones who only show up to criticize, but they never contribute to any solutions. They have cracked the code. If you talk bad about black people long enough, Fox News might have a guest spot for you. So why does any of this matter? Because the words of these people are going to be used against us. Every time a black public figure says racism doesn't exist, you best believe somebody is using that clip as proof to dismiss these real issues. When a black politician denies voter suppression, it helps oppressive systems stay in place. When black celebrities say something ignorant, it reinforces negative stereotypes that affect everyday black people. When an influencer panders to anti-blackness, it embodies the same people who already see us less than. And the saddest part, some of them genuinely believe what they're saying. Others are out here playing the game just because it's easier to be loved by the oppressor than to fight against the oppression. At the end of the day, these folks will do anything for money, status, or approval. They think that if they talk bad about their own, somehow they're going to be spared from racism. But history has shown us time and time again, coons get discarded the moment they are no longer useful. So to all the modern day Uncle Ruckuses out there, I have one question. Is the check worth your soul? How did some of us get bamboozled, hoodwinked, and led astray when it comes to how we see ourselves? A lot of these modern day Uncle Ruckuses didn't just wake up one morning and say, you know what? I think I'm gonna hate black people today. This is the kind of self-hatred that is carefully planted, watered, and nurtured over time, like a bad weave that just won't lay flat. We've been brainwashed for generations, and today I'm breaking it down exactly how this all happened. It starts with mainstream media. They have never been our best friend. From the news to movies to reality television shows, they have spent decades making sure that black people are either feared, laughed at, or overlooked altogether. Turn on the news and you'll see it. If a black person commits a crime, they show the mugshot, give you a rundown of their entire life story, and might even throw in a scary black man voiceover for an extra sound effect. Meanwhile, if a white person commits the same crime, they'll hit you with, he was a troubled young man who loved puppies and once helped an old lady cross the street. And Hollywood also has a history of giving us only 3 career paths: a sassy best friend, a criminal, or the magical Negro who exists only to help the white person out and help find them purpose in life. Now, when do we get a leading role? Half the time, it's about slavery, struggle, or trauma. And I love a good historical film. But can we get more black folks that's just living out here? Where's our Black Titanic? Where's our Harry Potter franchise? Where's the magic school? I want a magic school in the black community. I want one. I'm going to get one of those ones. And reality TV, that is a whole mess. They love showcasing us fighting, drinking, and throwing wigs across the room. Now, I love a little drama too, but when is that the only image that people see of us? That's all they see and it sticks. Meanwhile, white reality shows can be just as ratchet, but they don't get labeled as representing their whole race. When it comes to colorism, that is one of the oldest tricks in the brainwashing playbook. Because since slavery, we've been taught to see lighter skin as better and darker skin as lesser. And this mess still affects us today. Flip through a magazine and what do you see? The acceptable version of black beauty is almost always a light-skinned or mixed woman. Dark-skinned women rarely get the same representation or admiration. Even in everyday life, darker-skinned people still face more discrimination while lighter-skinned folks may get treated better by society. And instead of us uniting against this racist nonsense, colorism keeps us divided like house versus field all over again. And this mess is global too. Skin bleaching is a billion-dollar industry because people have been convinced that lighter is better. But let me say this loud and clear. Black is beautiful in every shade, period. And when you were in school, how much black history did you really learn? And I don't mean the 3-day special on MLK and Rosa Parks. They don't teach you about Black Wall Street and how it was burned to the ground. They don't talk about the rich African empire that existed before slavery. And they sure don't mention how scientific, mathematical, and artistic contributions black people have made throughout history. Instead, we get slavery, civil rights, and then boom, Obama. That's it. They leave out everything in between that would actually make us feel empowered. One of the biggest factors they control us is through money. If we're too busy struggling, we don't have time to focus on uplifting ourselves as a community. Redlining kept black families from owning homes and building generational wealth. Underfunded schools mean our kids don't get the same education as white neighborhoods. Corporate America keeps playing gatekeeper, keeping too many of us from leadership roles. Meanwhile, they flood our neighborhoods with distractions, from crime to cheap liquor stores on every corner. The truth is, a lot of the self-hatred we see today was planted centuries ago. It's not natural. It's a side effect of a system designed to keep us down. But once we recognize the game, we can stop playing it. So far, we've talked about how we got here, the brainwashing, the media tricks, and the colorism, and the social conditioning. But let me get to the good stuff now. We have to fight back. Because one thing about us, we are resilient. We have survived centuries of nonsense, and we still out here thriving, creating, innovating, looking good while we're doing it. So how do we shake off this internalized foolishness and start standing in our power? First things first, we gotta know the real history. Again, not the watered down, sugar-coated version of black history. Reading beyond slavery, teaching our kids before the system teaches them and unlearning the lies that we've been taught. And if we want to build power in our community, we have to put money where our mouth is. Black folks be spending money all the time, trillions, and we don't use it wisely. We just keep making everybody else rich while we still struggling. So you got to buy black whenever possible. Support positive black representation and stop giving platforms to the Ruckus Squad. When I say the Ruckus Squad, some of these self-hating influencers and commentators only have a voice because we keep giving it to them. We keep giving them attention. Someone is out here spewing anti-black rhetoric for clout or for money. Let them talk in vain. Don't share it. Don't even comment. Don't argue with them. Just let it fade in the background. Now, my favorite part is how you can fight the negativity, but you can actively celebrate your beauty, your excellence, and our culture. So just highlight black excellence, strengthen community bonds, embrace black culture in all its forms. All right, family, we covered a lot today. We went deep into how self-hatred started and how it's still showing up today. All these modern-day Uncle Ruckuses, and most importantly, how we can fight back. And if you don't walk away with nothing else, please walk away with this. We are not broken. We are not lost. We are powerful. Yeah, we've been through some mess, historically, socially, and even in our own minds. But that doesn't mean we have to stay there. The more we educate ourselves, support each other, and shut down the nonsense, the more we rewrite the narrative. Because let's be honest, they wouldn't work this hard to keep us down if we weren't a threat. They know what we're capable of, and it's time that we start knowing that too. I want you guys to start paying attention when you see negative stories about black people in the media. Ask yourself who is benefiting from believing that. When you hear someone putting down our community, just ask yourself again, what's really behind the mindset? And when you start doubting your own worth, remind yourself that you come from resilience, greatness, and innovation. At the end of the day, loving ourselves is the biggest act of rebellion, so let's make it a movement. And speaking of black excellence, don't forget to check out the MBG Podcast Network, where we're keeping the conversation going and highlighting the best of us. And if you love what I'm doing here, you can support this podcast at buymeacoffee.com/talk to me, Michele, 1L, because keeping it real takes a lot of energy, and coffee definitely helps. So until next episode, I'm out. Peace.
Talk to me, Michele.